it. So I tell people like new trainers or whatever that sometimes they feel like they're going off the path, so to speak.
Right.
But, all the experiences in life are going to come back to help you out if you have a positive attitude and get through it. And that's a pretty good indication of a good business when you have, good retention, you have people staying with you for a while.
Anything that says like it all comes down to one thing, I just can't stand. I was like, like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like there's nothing that's just all just one thing down. Like, I know it's consistency. I know we need to all be consistent, but it's like there's a lot more from it.
I think if you you go through periods where you might not have as much, but I find sometimes you might be overthinking during those periods,
What's up, guys? Welcome to the show and thank you for joining me. So today I sit down with Detric Smith, the owner and operator of Results Performance Training in Virginia. I first found out about Detric from his fitness writing that he'd done for T Nation as well as Men's Health. And I was just curious to hear about his journey and the work that he does of not only working with personal training and strength and conditioning, but also the work that he does to help with other coaches and develop their businesses. So I found out after talking with him, it was a blast of a conversation and how he really came from working with every different type of person all at the same time when he first got started as a strength coach, till eventually going a decade into that, building his own space, and now also working with helping young coaches develop their business and their success. So this was a blast of a conversation, just two guys really just chatting and talking shop about a lot of different areas of strength. So I know you're going to enjoy it. We'll get right on with the show. Thank you for joining me. I'll catch you on the inside. All right, let's change the world. What's up, Detric? How are you, man? It's really nice to meet you, dude.
Yep, doing great. How about you?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's nice to meet you. As I said, I heard of you first from like a mutual, colleague, Andrew Coates, and got into the work that you do with fitness writing, and then started to see all the work you've done from the personal training side as well as helping coaches. So I'm really excited to see where this conversation goes.
All right, cool. I'm excited.
Yeah. So what I usually like to kick off with, Detric, to start with is everybody's got their origin story, kind of how they found their way into this world. So, for you, what was it about strength and conditioning, about personal training that intrigued you, and how did you end up kind of getting into this world?
Okay. So I'll take it way back to high school. I turned 40 here in about 2 weeks, but I'll take it back to kind of high school. I remember like getting cut from a baseball team, being told I was too weak. And then I kind of, my goal was to go back, get stronger, make the team. So I kind of got obsessed with it in regards to going to working out, reading everything I could get on strength conditioning. And then I realized I kind of liked the working out aspect of it more than actually playing the sports there. And I was never like a natural athlete, I guess, but I enjoyed the working out process. Mm-hmm. And just when it came to college, I knew like I wanted to major in kinesiology, exercise science. So I was like an average high school student. And then when I got to college, graduated in like 3 years, I was just locked in. And I was always passionate about like strength conditioning, kinesiology, exercise science. So got my degree, certifications, and then kind of went on to work at different gyms, big gyms, studios, volunteered, observed under like Coach Contos, who's the strength coach at VCU, awesome guy there. So just to see his passion for strength conditioning. And then, so I just fell in love with that. So the first decade, I've been doing it for about 20 years. So the first decade, I'd say, worked at sports performance centers, teaching, coaching, strength conditioning, physical education teacher for a while too. And then the last decade, second decade, has been my business results performance training. So I'm here in Williamsburg, Virginia. And I'd say the majority of our business comes from like general population over 40, probably have an injury or two. They just want to get in shape. But we do also have like some athletes that we work with. We work with a wide variety of people. We've had like some teams and things in here too, with like youth athletes. So, and I have other trainers that work for me tier two. So we are all kind of have our areas of expertise and people that we work with best. So I'd say that's kind of my background there.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So what was your experience? Did you go into like more of like a big box gym right off the bat when you first got into training?
Yes. So like with my internships towards the end of college, I went into like a big box gym, and then I also had like a studio. So for a while I was doing both of those things at the same time. And then that's when I did like some internships at like VCU, and then I was able to, and I had my CSCS, so I went to sports performance places, worked at a place called Velocity that was popular for a while. And then, so worked there, and then ended up was like, okay, I like it, but I'm probably not making enough money just doing this. I went to teaching and coaching. So I did that for a while there. And so I've done a little bit of everything. I tell people when I went into teaching, I coached middle school, high school, and even taught elementary school for a while too. And I tell people,
Nice.
like, my experience teaching kindergartners taught me more about like life than any and leading and owning a business than probably a lot of the other stuff I've done.
I'm sure, right?
It was directly related to it. So I tell people like new trainers or whatever that sometimes they feel like they're going off the path, so to speak.
Right.
But you know, all the experiences in life are going to come back to help you out if you have a positive attitude and get through it.
Yeah, that's, it's funny. I was just having a conversation with a client of mine, and we were talking about why adults resonate so much with Disney songs a lot. And it's like, it's the simplicity of it that they make for kids, but you almost appreciate it more when you're an adult after going through experience, right? So the same thing with teaching kindergartners, you realize the simplicity of the vital few things that are really important. Right? Oh, that's funny. So you were working at a bigger, kind of space plus a studio, and also kind of working in a more of like a student area all at the same time. Is that right?
Yeah. So when I graduated, I was finishing up an internship. I had like a big box gym. And then I was able to get hired on by my first internship. That was a studio. So I was doing both of those. It wasn't too many hours at each one. I guess I was going back and forth. And then for a while there, I still took on that internship. It was like a volunteer internship at VCU there under the strength coach.
Did you do that just more for the experience of it, or working with more of the athletes?
Yeah, that was more. I didn't have to do that to graduate, I guess you could say. So I just did that for the experience, and just having that connection and that network was huge. It opened up doors. That was the one. It was like, okay, Velocity came and they're like, do you have anybody that we could hire as we open up our gym? And then he said, these are the people that are kind of working for us now or volunteering. So I had that opportunity, and that sell people that opportunity led to the next opportunity. And then, so I'm big on just telling new coaches that, and I know a lot of your questions you asked will probably get to this, but just being able to have that wide variety of experiences. And sometimes it's not all about, you have to get paid, but sometimes it's not all about that when you first start off as a coach.
Yeah, especially when you're younger too, just getting started, you don't realize how much time you really have ahead of you. So the experience of it really is a better currency than just the financial, piece of it. It's interesting, Detric, how you were right off the bat kind of in different energies. Like I've worked in the bigger area gym. I've worked in a small studio. I've done online business as well. And there is kind of that different energy if you feel with one. Did one feel like a little bit more at home for you when you were doing certain ones? Was it more the studio? Was it more of kind of the big gym, or kind of what'd you feel about that?
Yeah, the studio and working with athletes. So I guess I've kind of blended results performance training, my business, RPT. I've kind of blended the experiences that I liked and kind of put those together. So that small studio feel, that coaching aspect of it. And then the teaching. We're all teachers, but when I was a teacher, you're kind of putting those three things together. So being able to educate the members, that coaching aspect of it, and then that small kind of studio feel versus kind of the big box gym. Nothing wrong with that, but for the people that we work with from a business standpoint.
Oh, that's cool. How do you feel like the teaching helped you with coaching? Like, it seems like there's a lot, like you have to really be ahead of programming and curriculum and teaching, where sometimes personal trainers like to get in and just kind of start winging it. We're really in teaching, I don't think you can do that as much.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of similarities. Pretty much, you have to, if you're a good, teacher, you're pretty much a good coach. But yeah, you definitely have to have your game plan down, and you have to be able to teaching. You have to be able to show that to someone else, of course, like your boss is there. But yeah, it definitely is a huge help. Teaching, coaching, just, that communication aspect of it, having your plans together, and, being able to adjust too.
Nice. So then about like a decade later, you've been doing training for a while, and then you got into more of coaching the other side, getting new coaches in and helping them build their business of it. What was it that intrigued you about wanting to kind of go into this new space and work more with kind of coaching coaches and developing them?
Yeah, I think it was like a natural, transition there as far as being able to, you help people get in shape. But in order to help more people, you only have so many hours in a day there. So being able to develop those trainers there in order to kind of help you out, in order to help your members there.
Oh, cool. Okay. So was that a tough transition of going in, of kind of working with coaches? Was there a different kind of mindset or a different, way that you were developing?
That transition to becoming a leader of trainers, you're saying, was the tough transition? Yeah, somewhat natural, but when you look back on it, over the last decade, there's still a lot of times where I say, man, I wish I was the person I am today that I was back then, because those coaches would probably be in a better situation too.
Right.
Now, in saying that, I've had some coaches develop me in the past too, where you look at it and you're like, okay, I take that from that person, or I don't want to take that from that individual that I might have had in the past, if that makes sense as far as someone leading me.
Okay.
Hope I answered the question the right way. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because I went from, I was a trainer for a bit in one space. It was a private gym, but it was a big space. We were 15,000 square feet. We had, couple, 1,500 members or so. And then we had a big, personal training base. And I was personal trainer for a while, built myself up. And then all of a sudden I became a manager. And I'm like, all right, now I have 9 or 10 trainers that essentially are working for me. I never kind of thought of it that way. I was like, okay, this is it. And now it's like, now I need to develop new people that are coming in. And it was kind of like, how do I do this now? And then I realized it's very similar of working with somebody in their health and fitness. It's like kind of see the path a little bit ahead of time, just make sure that you're answering those questions, but also making sure that you treat everybody more individualized. And I think that's something that a lot of, coaches, just a lot of people maybe in general, is we want to automate everything so quickly that it's like, oh, just follow this path.
Yeah.
It's like working with coaches, right? It's an individual basis. What might work and develop one person is going to be different for another one, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And like you mentioned, you kind of worked at a bigger place and you kind of took over. It sounds like more like a fitness director type of role.
Yeah.
That you had. So yeah, I guess one thing about studio, and as it grows, it's like, okay, now you have 1 or 2 trainers and you have 3 or 4 trainers. Now you have interns. So I guess that process helped me out in a sense, if that makes sense, by, a lot of times it's people that go from trainer to fitness director. It's like, okay, here now you got 10 people all of a sudden. So I guess it's been kind of a gradual process, but yeah, it's been a fun process. And
okay. Yeah, it is. It's interesting, right? Cause it's, I remember I had 2 people that came in at the same time. One was a older gentleman. He was like almost 60 years old, been in personal training for a long time, but going into a new system, it was completely different. Then I had another girl who was in her early 20s, never been a coach, barely ever had a job before, really on it. And we have both of them in the same room at the same time. And I was like, holy shit. How do, I have to communicate in 2 different ways, but kind of sync them both together. With it. And I'm like, I told them, I was like, I think I grew more of talking to you guys in 3 months than I did in years beforehand of that. I'm sure you've had some experience with that.
Oh, yeah. Well. Yeah. I mean, we're working with a wide variety of not just clients, but the people that we hire. And, because we have to have diversity on the staff to reach different people. So you have to kind of understand where they're coming from, communicate with them and learn from them too,
Yeah. So when young coaches come and work for you, is there specific things that they're asking? Are they looking at how do I build a business, or are they just getting into personal training? Do you have a specific way that you develop somebody from the beginning and then build them into kind of their personal training career?
I mean, make sure I have your question right. But when I answer this, so if you tell me if I'm off, I mean, I just try to reach them, where they're at in regards to, as far as their development. I work with a wide variety of coaches, whether it be not just with my business, but also coaches that might reach out to me. So I just try to reach them where they're at. There's some trainers that are in that phase where they just they're kind of building that foundation of just becoming a trainer and kind of also letting them know where they're at, because they might think they're in a different phase of development and need to be doing something else. Whereas in some coaches, they've already been kind of booked, so to speak, and they want to reach that next level of making it a career that they can sustain over time there.
Okay. Is it usually more one or the other? Are you working with a lot of people who are just getting started? Is it more like people, they've kind of reached that pinnacle, but now they don't know how to get to that next level?
Yeah, I would still say the majority are kind of in those first few years as coaches, trying to find themselves there. And then that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then,
It's a weird time, right? I always thought like it was about like 17 clients or so seemed like that mark where like now all of a sudden you're busy, right? It's like
yes, yeah.
you're not just hanging around all day. Now you actually got some stuff to do, but
Mhm.
you still got some more room to grow. But it's like, all right, now you're managing a lot of different people's lives. And that's kind of when all of a sudden, like, wow, holy shit, this is like a real job now.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. No, it's interesting. What are some of the, I guess, like, what are some of the like early mistakes that you've seen a lot of trainers make that you try and, work with them on? Like, is there specific questions that you ask from them beginning to kind of get those things out, out of them?
I guess common mistakes. I guess hopefully we're on the same page
Mhm.
when I answer the questions. So just tell me if I'm not. But
Yeah.
like common mistakes that I see young coaches kind of make, there, thinking from a career standpoint. But I'll kind of cover different things here, and I think really the expectation of like those first few years, in regards to like how much money that they'll realistically probably make in their first year or two, after they're just getting certified there. Sometimes they might have an expectation that it's going to be a lot higher, that it's going to be like this 9 to 5 and everyone's going to be back to back, versus in reality, what it
Mhm.
is. It's like, okay, you got a client at 5 a.m. Now you have one
Yeah.
at 8. Now, okay, are you able to take this client here that comes in at 4:30? So sometimes, so just the expectations there, and for their first year or two. And in saying that too, and like I said, tell me if I'm bouncing around too much
No,
on
I
the
love it. I
question.
think this is great. Mhm.
But after those trainers have developed their skills and they've been in the industry for a while, not selling themselves short as to how much money they can make over time there, but being realistic with what they have to become in order to do that. So, so those are like, I guess, kind of common mistakes. And then a lot of trainers are like, okay, now I'm certified, and then they might, sit around and maybe refuse to take certain jobs or internships because it's not enough money, or they don't want to work at certain times of, certain times of the day in order to get
Mhm.
that, where you probably have to do those things at first in order to, kind of reach those goals there.
Right. Yeah. What do you think about that? Is kind of interesting, right? Because it's weird hours that sometimes work, especially if you're working in a gym. It's like I did that too. It was the early like 5 a.m. client. I remember one day, I think it was like a Thursday, like early on, I would get in at 5 a.m. I worked till like 7, 8 o'clock training clients. Then I worked the front desk all day, and then I trained clients again at night.
Yeah.
It's like, and you don't even like realize what you're doing. It's like, but
Yes.
I think I forget who it was, but they said like when you're in your 20s, just kind of push your threshold, like see how much you can work. And then you can scale it back afterwards, where it's like, now, okay, I know I have this much energy and juice, throughout the
Yeah.
day. But it seems like when you're early on, like it's, I hate saying like be a yes man, but almost like take all the opportunities and just like pack yourself in. I
Yeah.
think that might be the quickest way to success.
I agree with that. And I agree with that 200%. And yeah, you need to have your work-life balance and all, but I think to be realistic, I mean, if you look back at the people that are successful, they push that edge, and they've done that. Whereas, you have to say yes to some opportunities probably at first that either you might not think of as the best in order to kind of get to that point. And I
Yeah.
think there might be a lot of coaches now that, or that might they might think they're too good for those things, and that'll come back to bite them.
Yeah. Have you seen
Long term.
that? Have you seen that a lot? Like, is that a different thing? Because it seemed like I started to see that a little bit when I was managing. I don't manage, people anymore, with my own business, but it seemed like some were just really willing and ready to do everything, but then a lot of them were just like, they want to jump right into it like so quickly. It's like they think like they should have a full book within a month.
Yes. And I, I when I started off on the mistakes, I guess, or where
Mhm.
the expectations, where I think a lot of that could lead to why there's so much burnout in people that are doing it for a year, 2, 3, and then they're just done.
Right.
They haven't spent that time either developing that foundation by taking some opportunities that might not be in their eyes their ideal
Right.
situation, but you have to do those things in order to get ahead long term.
Yeah. it's that term ideal, right? It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
it'd be beautiful to do that at all times. Well, like when you were doing everything early on, like working at, both gyms, doing the internship, like, was it in your mind like, oh, I'm doing all this this is going to lead somewhere? Or was it more just like, no, I just want to immerse myself in this as much as possible?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I feel like I wanted to, I mean, I had that vision, that long-term goal, but really, I mean, I was enjoying the process. You first get out and I was really enjoying it. So I had a passion for it.
Yeah.
I can't say like every little thing you did because I mean, when you get some certain jobs, it's more than just training too.
Right. Yeah.
You're doing a lot of other stuff if you're at some of these places and maybe they put you on a salary type of job, which is great for training, but they're going to work you. They're going to get a lot out of you.
Absolutely.
So, but those experiences come back later. You look back at it and you're like, okay, now, those things have helped me.
Right. That's a good point there. I think it was one of the articles I read, from you, Detric. I think you said about not specializing too early on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was such a great point that I saw, because one thing that I thought worked really well for me and what I was grateful for is I was at a gym that we worked with a lot of seniors. And it's like, I've told this story before of this woman. She was almost 90 years old. And, you go through your initial stages, right? You're talking about what are your goals and stuff. Her goal was she wanted to open up her peanut butter jar.
Yeah.
And I never heard this before. And I was like, all right, well, tell me more about this. And she would wake up in the morning and she liked to watch the news, make her tea and, have an English muffin and peanut butter. That was her morning. She really enjoyed that. She valued that as part of her day. And she got such weakness in her hands that she couldn't open up the jar anymore. So that was being a 24-year-old kid who was all about aesthetics and athletics. I never heard that before. And I'll tell you, Detric, like 3 weeks after we started training, I was sitting at my desk just writing out programs. And I hear like a clank down on my desk and it was a peanut butter jar. And I look up and it was Helen. And she said, watch this. And she opened up the jar in front of me. And I'm like, the look that she had, it looked like Usain Bolt winning a gold medal in the Olympics, of like what she just did there. And I remember like in that moment, some things just change you right off the bat. And I was like, I was that person that, I want to train athletes. I was going to do that. I was going to go on to do all that stuff. And it's like, holy shit, I got so much value out of training just older adults who are just looking to improve quality of life. And I think it's so important for especially young people just getting into the job, just to experience all of it, because you don't know what's going to really light you up at that time.
I mean, I love that story because like looking back, I was the same exact way. I was, okay, I'm going to probably work with athletes. I'm going to do that. And looking back at how I've owned my business over the last 10 years and how certain trends have played out and what might've been the goal of it per se when I first started versus the reality of the market. And like, okay, we can, you have to make money in order to continue your business, in order to do all these things there. So, and we change as people too, obviously, starting off like 20 something, like 20-year-old versus, let's say I turned 40 in 2 weeks, but like, so starting off then and like the type of people that you want to work with, you tend, if you're a 20-year-old, listen to this, or you're starting off, or no matter what age you are, I guess you're going to change in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And there's a good chance you're not going to want to work with the type of person that you wanted to work with back then, where, I mean,
right.
You mentioned the peanut butter story like that's what I get the most joy working with people that they're telling us like, okay, I was able to go on vacation and able to enjoy everything on vacation. I was able to carry my own luggage. I was able to do my own, work in the yard, do all the yard work, move furniture around. Like those are I mean, I like working with a wide variety of people, but now it's like, those are the type of people that you love working with. And when you get people like that, they're going to stick around for a long time. And that's a pretty good indication of a good business. When you have, good retention, you have people staying with you for a while versus just focusing on, I mean, your goals are going to change over time. Just focusing on training the 0.0000009% of the population, which is like, Usain Bolt, like you said, or or whoever it is. So yeah, But yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because it's, and it's a young thing to think. And of course that'd be like super exciting, but at the same time, you're kind of you want to just latch on to somebody else's excitement right there. Right.
Yes.
It's kind of a vicarious, work through. And like, that was one of the stories. And I mean, there's a million of them out there, with people, but you actually like, it's almost more enjoyable to just work with just our general population and work with people who want to just drop weight, who want to enjoy the time with their family. They have real lives. You have real discussions with them. And
Yes.
it's kind of, it seems like, especially in the fitness culture, everything is so like, just everything's so serious. Like every message out there gets so serious when it's like, this can be really fun.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Like this morning, there's a lake by my house and I just grabbed a weight and just went down there and just kind of played, with a kettlebell. Like I have no idea how many rounds I did. I'm like, I just
Yes.
kind of went down and just jumped in and just worked with that. And I think as coach, that's not going to be in a NASM book or in a certification about, go out and play. But I think it's a piece, especially with young kids, just having some fun with what's doing. Nobody jumps into the fitness business, right, to make, $1 billion. It's like, it's not that type of industry. It's like, let's have some fun with everybody in the process, right?
Yeah. Have some fun, build that community. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. So do you split most of your time? So you split between the gym that you have and then also working in the fitness business side as well with coaches?
Yep. So,
Nice.
I mean, the gym here, and then it takes a bit to like, develop our trainers, and then also work and, develop some content and writing.
Nice.
Trainers there.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into your writing because, as I said, like I like your writing that you have because you keep it really simple and really to the point, from it, and you really just hit on some really good topics. One of them that you read that I read that I saw when Andrew Coates tagged you on that was how to become a fitness writer. And the first thing you said in that line, which just hooked me, was like, if you want to write more, you got to write more.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, it's so simple. And that's Stephen King wrote a book on writing that I absolutely love. And he said the same thing. He's like, all right, you want to be a better writer, you better write a lot from there. So was writing always something that you really enjoyed, or was this something that you found kind of along the line?
I can't say I always enjoyed it. I mean, I love it now. It just kind of gives me a peace of mind there. But I still remember some of my grades in high school. I'm thinking about this, but they weren't the best. But yeah, I mean, I can't say it's always been a part of me back then. I mean, I love it now. And there's so many different forms of writing too. So, and you own a business, and you have to kind of, you get you get more reps with those things too, whether it be writing for like a blog for your members, or whether it's writing more so for trainers, or whether it's writing training manual type stuff for people, or whether it's writing even like sales copy type ads. So everyone has like a different skill set, but you kind of get reps that way too. So I learned to enjoy it. It seems like gives me a peace of mind.
How did you get started with it? Did you start with like blogs or articles, or were you like a journaler, or how did you kind of get started and let it kind of take off?
So I'd say just writing blogs, like in newsletters and things like that for our members. And then I just had that passion to kind of share. I kind of realized that the stuff that I was writing for my own staff, I can just share that out with other people too. And then I was just wanted to get that, get the connections and get featured in different places and have that network and be able to reach people. So you meet people or you're able to talk to people like the Andrew Coates, and then he shares it, and then so it's like you're building that network by sharing it.
Nice. There. Yeah. One of the things you mentioned there, which I thought was interesting, is you hired a coach. I believe you worked with Nick Tuminello, and he worked specifically on writing for you, and he gave you some pretty interesting advice right off the bat, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I had a harsh tone, probably turned some people off, and you need to hear stuff like that. Not as many takeaways as I probably thought there. Over the years, I've been able to make things a little more simple and remove stuff and not have too much in there, so, and I still get help now from people to be able to have to read over my writing to help me edit my writing there too.
Nice.
I feel like most people think they're pretty good with ideas, I guess, but having the ideas and getting it down, and then you have to read over it over and over again, and then having a fresh set of eyes to look at it, and whether it be editing or to say, yeah, maybe you need to, that's a whole separate article,
Right. It's an interesting thing, right? It's because like having a harsh tone seems like very common in the fitness world. It's like
Yes.
we're speaking, kind of pointing the finger out to a lot of people. Like, this is what you need to, there's something I said, it's like anything that says like, it all comes down to one thing, I just can't stand. I was
Yeah.
like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like,
Yeah.
there's nothing that's just all just one thing down. Like, I know it's consistency. I know we need to all be consistent, but it's like, there's a lot more from it. And when I read that, I was like, that was the same thing I did. Cause some early blog articles I wrote, I kept saying you, like speaking to you, like I was like preaching. And it's like, no, like those things around, make it a little bit softer and invite people in. I was like, now all of a sudden you're getting a lot different feedback. Seems like you kind of have the same experience.
Yes. Yeah. So, but yeah, his feedback was great and just kind of opened my eyes into how I write. And I mean, if I was having a conversation with somebody here, like one of my trainers, I wouldn't have like talked the way I might have wrote back then. And so it kind of goes together.
Nice. So what's your process like now when you go into writing something? Do you do like a word vomit, like rough draft out and then go back, or what's your process like?
So yeah, I mean, massive brainstorm, and sometimes I get these. It could be like, well, in our world, we're up early anyway, but it could be just like at random times, and like, oh, I got to get this out, And and sometimes just creating those blocks of time where if you're able to not work on certain other things, just kind of brainstorm and let it all out. And I kind of go back when it's like my process. So overall, I'll kind of start with saying reading more and listening to others is going to give you like a lot of ideas and a lot of kind of what we're saying. It might not necessarily be new, but the way we share our stories and the way we share it can be new there. Right. So, but yeah, taking a lot of time to kind of just brainstorm, let it out. And then it takes a lot of just going over and over again. And a lot of times I like to say I have all these ideas and it's just taking the time to almost put it together like a puzzle. I'll have this bullet. Okay. Oh, here. And I'll write something like, okay, that's another article completely.
Okay.
So I'm really like all over the place.
Okay.
And so
most fitness entrepreneurs are, I think, we're all over the place.
The ideas usually get out there, but it could be a challenge for me, especially without help, to like really put it together into something organized. I mean, I could do it, of course, but it just takes a while. So like I said, tell people, like I remember when I first started writing with, Nick Tomanello, where like he was helping me out, and he was like, yeah, just throw over some ideas and, I'll see what you have, see if it's something that I'm able to work with you. And like 30 minutes later, I had like 12 different things, and he's like, did you already have this stored up? I'm like, no, I just kind of came up with it then. So for me, like I have all this stuff, but it's really like, the challenge for me is, I think some people might have a challenge coming up with ideas, I guess. But for me, it's just being able to organize it and put it together. And that's where sometimes you need help and people to kind of read through your work.
Right. Yeah. Do you read through it first and edit, or do you have a couple people that you send stuff to first to kind of get their opinion after you write?
I've kind of done it both ways there. So I kind of read through it, have them edit it. But in some cases, I'll kind of have the bullets together and we can kind of work together as a team sometimes there too.
Right.
And also depending on what type of writing it is. So, like I said, there's so many different types of writing that we have to do the writing you see for other trainers, but owning a business, and sometimes we hire out for certain skill sets that we don't have, like, at least at first when it comes to like sales copy type stuff or understanding that process.
Okay.
So it depends on the type of writing too.
What's the difference in the process? Is it more like, are you talking about like different algorithms and stuff like that, to work with, or is it just the wording or kind of the phrasing of it? Or?
Like, I guess sales copy, I'm thinking in terms of like having your headlines where you have to reduce words in order to get those across, your call to actions and different things like that. So after it can be challenging at first, and like sometimes you hire people to write like ads for you for say Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And then after I've read a lot of books on it, I've seen them do it. Now you look at it like, oh, okay, now this starts to make sense. We have a template to kind of go from, but we know our members better than a lot of people that might be writing this stuff that's not directly in fitness, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if I'm going off again on that, but it's just kind of a different type of writing there to understand
Yeah.
That is stuff that sometimes you see sales copy and things written for you, and you're like, oh, that's cheesy, whatever, but it works, you know?
Right.
And
And
you're
well,
like,
the aesthetics of it and looking the right way, you don't realize how powerful that is when
mhm.
you get into. So even just like spacing and writing in articles
Yes.
is so important to do. I saw that with a couple people that I, read this course on, of like specific highlights, specific bullet points area, just because it's aesthetically pleasing to the eye.
Mhm.
Like it's different than writing a book. It's like
Yes.
you don't have somebody's full attention on there. You might have like 2 minutes, like
Mhm.
to get all of your information out there. So
Yeah.
it's definitely different in that regard from that. How do you keep organized with it? Like you said, you have all these different ideas. Do you have specific days or times in your schedule that you set up? You're like, all right, this is idea time, or is it just when things pop up, you're like, all right, I'm going to write that down?
Most of the good ideas just come, and you have to
Yeah.
write it down in it, whether it might be a notebook that I have. I always have a notebook with me, but a notebook that I have and write it down. And I just have some like typical Google Docs that I'll keep open on my computer too. So when they come, I can just kind of write it there. Or
Mhm.
when I have that time, sometimes for me now, that's like relaxing to kind of
Mhm.
write. And then usually I'll block out some time when I'll make sure I get everything's not always, you never get everything done, but when you get your stuff done, you block out some time. Like for me, whether it's like on a Friday, even a Saturday or Sunday, well, I'm like, go to a coffee house and just zone out and just kind of write and get it all out there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I never did that before. Like because I do a lot of writing, for, my community, and I would always just, whatever's on my head, I'm like, oh, cool. I'll just write about that and just start rolling through. And then I kept a tab open of just writing ideas, and anything that popped up, I would just roll over and I would just write it in. I'm
Mhm.
telling you, Detric, that freed my mind up so much.
Yes.
In the rest of the day, just to get it out. And I think that's something that if anybody's aspiring to write, like that's the main thing, is like just getting it out of your head.
Yes.
Is like is the biggest point, because you can always go back and edit it. I think that was Stephen King's line in his book. He said, to write is to be human, to edit is to be divine. And I was
Yes.
like, oh shit,
Yes.
like that's such a beautiful
Yes.
line right there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So just getting it out of your head, right? That's like the first thing you should do. It's probably just a good application for life in general. Just get it out of your head.
Yeah. I think if you going through, you go through periods where you might not have as much, but I find sometimes you might be overthinking during those periods,
Mhm.
So it's just to kind of let it out. And that's what kind of the best articles, or the people that people think are the best articles, are the ones that are, it's just like, you just let it all out.
Right.
And then the emotion along with it too. Throw a little bit of your story in there, and then people are able to connect with it.
Yeah, no, very much so from there. So, that's writing. I think is just so interesting, because it is like it's just really it's a way to critically think and to really think through these things from there. Do you do like other writing? Like, do you do journaling or anything like that at all? Like for personal development and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'll journal, and kind of, I have to remember to like write goals down. I just believe in actually writing it
Mhm.
down in paper. A lot of people don't do that, but anymore. But just writing it down is just something powerful about connecting and writing goals down, and being able to kind of write what you see as like your visions and different things down there.
Okay. That's such an interesting thing, goal setting, because like I've had more tough writing out vision stuff than I have just like going in and just working and grinding.
Yeah.
It's like seeing it out,
Yeah.
from there. So you mentioned reading too a lot. Is there specific books that have really, made an impact on you over the years?
I read probably a wide variety. As a business owner, I read like so many different things. I guess from a fitness standpoint, you talk to Dan John. I love, love his stuff.
Yeah.
There, so just the way he's able to put his story in it, connected. It's not like boring. It's simple, but yet so I love Dan John's stuff. There, it's probably my favorite.
I crack up with him every time I talk to him, because Never Let Go is probably my favorite book I've ever read. And every time he looks at me, he's like, really? It's like, look, I was like, yeah, Dan, like, it's really, really good, man. It's like the simplicity that he writes with, we talked about writing processes and stuff like that too. And he like just taking out all of those little filler words in his stuff that he said is just so powerful, to work with, from that. So fitness wise, absolutely Dan John's the way to go.
There's so many of them, like Seth Godin too, like with marketing type stuff. And, but yeah, there's now that I'm on the spot, I'm not to think of them off the spot, but yeah, there's so many.
Yeah. Did you ever do you read fiction at all for like inspiration in writing?
Actually, I don't read that much fiction. I read so much nonfiction, but yeah, I don't read that much fiction.
I did that for a while too. Like I was only reading nonfiction. Then all of a sudden I read just a couple of fiction books just to, throw in there in the mix just once in a while.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, it just the little bit of change of how they phrase words together and stuff like that, and just give your brain a little bit of that break.
Yeah.
Like I think it's an interesting thing to explore.
Yeah, that's something I was saying I'll do. You can hold me accountable to it. But yeah,
there we go.
Good recommendations, because I'm always just I'm like boom, like not if I see it connect to doesn't connect, but I know the fiction book do too, and the lessons, the way they put the stories together.
Yeah. So going back, I mean, you got 20 years of experience in here. Like one of the things I always like to, ask is the evolution that you've seen from fitness. Like, have you seen some specific things kind of change from when you first got started in the business to what you see now? Regardless of starting as a personal trainer or just clients in general, have you seen kind of a different shift in their mentality?
Yeah. So like over the past 20 years, things that have changed. I think just the access to information, internet and social media has completely changed the game. So I say it makes it easier and harder for up and coming coaches. So like easier, and they have all this information. Harder, they have to figure out what's good information. And it's also easier for like them to connect with other coaches and the kind of network there. So there's definitely lots of positives to it, as long as they kind of understand that those come with a few negatives there too. In regards to like services, if you're saying like online and virtual is like a great option for trainers to make money there. Like with everything, it's not an overnight success thing that some coaches will try to tell you it is, but and still believe that trainers should have that base of in person and being able to work with people in person too, right, doing online and like virtual stuff. And I mean, we've seen lots of trends and lots of fads and different things come, but it's safe to say that personal training and coaching is going to be around forever. I mean, personal training's not dead. Semi-private's doing well, and group training is going to be around. I just say you need to really find your specialty area. Like with everything, I mean, I talk about not doing it too early, but if you're going to have like a group related type of business, you really need to know who you're serving and what makes you unique. So being in business for 10 years now, when I first came to the area, we did, lots of, and we still do, our services are group, semi-private and one-on-one, but over the years, we've kind of shifted with our area to older population, I guess, retired population. But we've shifted to we've probably done more one-on-one, semi-private. We still have our groups, but we have to know like, okay, now that there's so many franchise groups popping up, how are you really different from the place around the corner now?
Okay.
I mean, of course we had, CrossFit still around, but we still had CrossFit there's always going to be that group. It might be a different type of person there. That makes sense. That's what I'm trying to say. The franchise.
When you say group, is that where you think of like 10 people or more type work?
Yeah. So semi-private, I'm saying like 3 to 6. Group, I'm saying around 10 to 15, 16, potentially more than that, depending on the group.
Right. So do you still do a lot of one-on-one work as well?
Yeah, we still do some. Most of it's semi-private though. The goal is to kind of get as much people to transition to semi-private work there. And then if it's something where we have trainers, and it helps them get some hours too, because there are people that still want it. But we do all of those. And I think that helped us during, the pandemic, during COVID too, during our transition. Because I think if we would have been just only group the whole time, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, I guess, if that's your business model. But if that was only group, then it probably would have been a lot harder because, or if you had that mindset that you're only going to do one of those, and I'm not saying you have to do all of them. If you have that mindset where you're only going to do one of those, you might go through some periods where it could be a challenge. So for us being able to, we're talking about the group places and the franchises that come up, a lot of them really get that 25 to 45-year-old, 50-year-old market extremely well. But people that that could probably train at different places probably will train at different places, if that makes sense.
Right.
And they're going through that period where they're going to hop around. We've noticed our over 50, over 55 market, and even our youth too, there's a certain connection where they're with you, they're staying with you.
Right.
I guess it depends on how you serve them too. And you have to know what your specialty is and who you get along with well and who you want to work with, going back to what we were saying before. We like working with people that have those goals.
Yeah.
That they want to just be able to function in life, and it's not about how much they can back squat; it's about how much they can.
Right. Yeah. Still fun to back squat though.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like I remember. I mean, now I do all virtual based work, with coaching, with online business. That's just direction that I've, wanted to go in. But when I was in place, everything was big with semi-private, and I'm like, I understood the aspects of it. Like you get the small group, especially as a coach, like you can, you're making more, on a financial side, per. But the thing that I saw that I thought was so powerful of it is with group, it seems like, okay, here's a class, you can go in and you're just following instructions. It's kind of like you're just going on the wheel and you're just along for the ride. One-on-one training, I think, is great. You can develop that personal connection, but clients can get very enabled by the client who's just walking them from one thing to another. Where semi-private, it seems like it allows it to have a little bit of the best of both worlds, where you're getting that individual attention, but you also have a little bit of autonomy at the same time, where you need to learn how to operate this themselves. And that was something I saw with when the pandemic happened, and all of a sudden we were working with so many people in a studio, and it was great. Everybody was doing great there. But then all of a sudden, a couple months down the line, everybody was losing motivation and losing track. And it's I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And it's realized like, oh shit, like we were giving good instruction, but we weren't teaching anybody how to actually do this themselves in case the shit hit the fan.
Yes.
And they were home. And I think it seems like that's a piece that, as young coaches, like we can't shy away from, is teaching people how to be self-sufficient in this is the best thing that you can do.
Yeah.
And we don't teach that as much. It's like, yes, follow the program, work this, keep the clients coming in, make them love you, but it's like also give them some self-control at the same time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. That's huge.
Yeah. So dude, Detric, it's been great chatting with you, man. This has been great. I love the work that you're doing. I love the really breakdown between both the training plus the work that you're doing to help young coaches really develop themselves on that. So wish you all the success, man. I think this will be great.
All right. Thanks. I appreciate you. I appreciate all the work you're doing and the content you're putting out.
Thanks, Ben. So if people want to check out more of your stuff, to reach out if they have any questions, what's the best place that they can follow your content?
Yeah. So my blog site, I'll usually put everything up there as far as my name, Detric Smith.com. Instagram handle is pretty much the same there. Facebook, and my contact information is on there if you ever need to reach out. Email, text, or DM there. Yep.
Awesome, man. Good. Dude, it's great to meet you. It was great chatting with you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Good. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like the show, please give it a 5-star review, give it a thumbs up, all that good stuff. And if you want to get the inside scoop on all new episodes coming up, behind the scenes insights, and free training resources, then you can join the Strength Connection private Facebook group now. Just go to Facebook groups, type in the Strength Connection, and join in. Also, don't forget to subscribe. See you soon.